Hello there everyone, it's Kagami, I'm back. I had a ton of recording problems with my recorder, but now they're done so I can get back to playing this game like I wanted to. I think it's been a week or something, I'm not really sure. Get off the screen, mouse. So last time we met her and she has no arms and was eating with her feet because she has no arms. So let's get back to it. So, do you always eat alone or this late? Or do you get the occasional visitor? Visitors? Maybe you're my first occasional visitor, but I don't always eat alone either. Sometimes I eat with a certain person on the roof, if she's not horsing around. Horsing? She likes to do sports. Oh. And that's all I can think to say. Both of us fall silent again as Reen forks the last bite of her meal into her mouth. I look down at my haul and double check it with Misha's list. It seems I have everything except plywood. So I think I have all the things now. That's very nice for you. Don't feel obliged to stay. I was about to take a nap anyway. Man, she doesn't care. You need to do whatever you're going to do with that stuff anyway, right? Or perhaps you'd like to watch girls sleeping. Eh? I'm not sure what to make of this, but Rin looks serious. Reen. Even if I did, I think I have to be going. I'll catch you around, Tezuka. You can call me Reen. I feel that our relationship is at this point good enough to warrant this much. I was already turning to make my exit, but she draws me back in. Fine, then I'm Hisao. Then you are. Reen looks at me hard in the eyes with the intimidating feeling you get when someone stares at you isn't there. It's like she actually not looking at me at all. She blinks a couple of times. I can't figure out why a pause like this just popped between us out of nowhere. See you later, Hisao. She looks like she's exhausted. Go away, mouse. There's something like a tiny smile on her face. Maybe. That face! I quietly back out of the room. As I shut the door in front of my face, I whisper to myself, what an intriguing person. From inside, I hear a muffled sing-song voice. I heard that! Oh god! Freaking jump scares. What did she hear? I jumped out of the sudden appearance of Misha, who I had not heard approaching despite the completely empty hallway. Somehow she had gotten to jumping distance of me without me making a sound. Creepy. It briefly reminds me of Kenji's nutty theory about a global feminist conspiracy, but I pushed that thought aside. Whoa. Shizune, standing slightly behind Misha, looks aloof as she couldn't have heard the remark that drew Misha's attention, but Misha was visibly excited. No, wait, more importantly, who is she? There are no club meetings today. She tries to curiously peek past me, though through the door prevents her from seeing anyway. What are you doing here? You took so long that we had to come check what's wrong. That's no good, Hika-chan. She waves her finger at me scoldingly. I found plywood, but everything else is still missing because you are tardy. Oh, sorry, I got the thing here, I'm just going to bring them. I think you were up to some mischief, Hika-chan. Who was in there with you? I wonder. Misha signs something quickly to Shizune, pointing at her own ear a couple of times. Shizune immediately pushes her way past me and opens the door of the classroom I just left. I can only imagine the shock she is experiencing. With Shizune's diligence and attitude, the insolence of a daring to deface school property by sleeping on top of it must be too much for her to bear. And indeed, she stares at Reen, frozen in place apart from the slight but noticeable trembling in her shoulders from suppressing rage, I'm sure. Instead of blowing up, Shizune just takes a few deep breaths, adjusts her glasses, slams the door shut, turning to sign furiously at Misha. Holy crap! Kitty face! Maybe she did blow up, but I can't understand it. She shoots a very loaded stare at me too, as if it was somehow my fault that Reen is sleeping on one of the tables. I hope she's not getting any funny ideas about the reason of my tardiness. Hello! Reen's voice comes from the other side of the door, and it takes a few eye blinks to realize she may have trouble opening it. I open the door to find Rin directly behind it, looking at us with half-interested, half-sleepy face. Hello. Dots. Miss Tezuka, what do you think you are doing? You absolutely are not permitted to use school property for such, disgraceful activity? It sure is suddenly very crowded in here. I didn't know I was this popular. It's hard to say whether she's happy or unhappy about the turn of events. At any rate, she ignores Shizune/Misha's scoldings, so they have no choice but to drop the issue. Shizune taps Misha's shoulder, pointing at Rin to make some quick signs. Popularity aside, please don't do that anymore. Dots. Anyway, how is your project going? Will it be done for the festival? Rin looks at them blankly, apparently at ease under the pressure Shizune's cold stare is putting on her. I keep wondering about that myself too. Dots. And? We'll think about it harder. Go away, mouse. As Misha signs her reply to Shizune, her face turns into an unsatisfied frown. Kitty face. Dots. Miss Tezuka, please try to take this seriously. It'll be a disaster if the wall looks like someone threw up their lunch onto it. Rin nods assertively. We'll think more seriously. Misha actually giggles at that, but Shizune doesn't. Not even after translation. She just shakes her head, takes the material from me, and takes off with Misha in tow. Rin frowns thoughtfully as she looks through the retreating student council duo. How rude. It's true though, I must finish my project before the weekend. There will be dire consequences if I don't. The end of the world as we know it. Like weekends usually are, but more dire. Much more dire. Maybe I'll postpone my nap to unforeseen future. I'm about to ask what projects she has and what are those apocalyptic consequences, but she walks back into the art room. Since you have nothing to do, would you give me a hand? This paint can doesn't fit into my bag, but I need it. She kicks lightly at a huge can of paint that's lying on the floor next to the table she was sitting and sleeping on. It let out a dull clang. Being the gentleman I am, I naturally picked it up. Heroic and chivalrous me to the rescue! Good job, Hiseo. Heavy. Yeah, sure. Where do you need to take it? Away. That description. And with that, she takes off to the hallway, me and the paint can following since there's little choice for either of us. The hallway is quiet and empty. Now, with Shizune and Misha gone, we too leave towards the stairwell at the other end. Every 10 or 15 or 20 steps, I have to change the can from one hand to another because the thin handle cuts into my palm. At least it keeps my arms from tiring too fast. I hate paint cans like that. Why can't they just have good handles? Rin strolls on beside me with an uneven pace that I have trouble matching, or maybe I am walking weird because of the extra weight. It seems one of us is consistently walking too slow or too fast, and I can't figure out which. 2 flights of stairs below, trouble appears in the form of a head nurse and his fox-like grin. Ah, Mr. Nakai. What a happy coincidence. Tezuka too. Of course. He nods courteously to Rin, who does not acknowledge him back, then turns to me, because obviously it's me who he had some business with. There's something I forgot to mention on Monday. I nod and wait passively, because I can't even begin to guess what he forgot. The feeling of the handle delving deeper into my skin doesn't make me feel enthusiastic about the interruption either. It's about your medications. Since you haven't been that long on your current medication, there might be some unexpected side effects, which might require adjusting dosages or even changing to another kind of medication. So we will do a few tests regular, but what I want is for you to keep an eye on everything so your condition that feels off, if you get what I mean. Nausea, headaches, anything, and come see me if something happens. Alright. So, how are you? Everything fine? I give up and drop the can to the floor before answering him. Apparently this takes longer than my biceps can handle. I'm about to say something generic as an answer, but then I realize how often I've done that lately. Other people have asked me that too. Teachers and students here, my parents, visitors, nurses, doctors at the hospital. Everyone seems to be concerned about that. It's natural for a hospital, not so much for a school. Except this school. This is a small school, and both the student base and the faculty seem to be very tightly knit. At least, that's the feeling I'm getting. And this is not the kind of school that gets transfer students too often. The thought sends shivers up my spine. I'll give a generic answer anyway. Like dots. That's great. Also, one thing. My source told me that you've been at neither the school track nor even the pool, so I'd like to throw if you have taken up exercise as I asked. Of course I haven't, but his way of inquiring gives me a feeling that I should have been running my ass off at the track since the very first day. You have people spying on me? Not as such, I just happen to know a few people, but that's not the issue here, so don't try to slip out of it. Well, I was actually just doing some improvising weightlifting as an exercise. I pick up and lift the can up and down a few times like some sad imitation of a bodybuilder, even though it's weighing down on my arms painfully. That stupid grin disappears from his face for a second and comes back like it was never gone. Physico, would you give us a second? The nurse grabs me by the shoulders without waiting for Rin's permission, which he didn't need in the first place, as drags me aside. When I told you to exercise, I wasn't joking. I understand that you are still on your first week and all, but please don't ignore the importance of this. The reason I'm coming down this hard on you is that habits are not easy to form. The more you slip and postpone, the harder it'll be. It's the same with everything like dieting. Can you promise me to be more serious about this from now on? Absolutely, I don't want to die. So, yes. Probably in real life, I'd say maybe. I would definitely say maybe in my condition, because I don't have a condition. But with a heart, yes. Yeah, I promise, definitely. He studies me for a moment and then shrugs, smiling again. Okay, that's more like it. If you go to the school track tomorrow morning, you'll meet my spy, who probably has no qualms offering consultation to you if you want to jog for a bit. Consultation? See you around. He leaves with a wave of his hand and no answer, and I walk to Rin, who has been waiting idly, leaning against the hallway and staring at the pale lighting fixtures in the ceiling. Even when I approach, she doesn't move her eyes off them. Are you getting medications for your heart thingy? Were you listening? It comes out more accusatory than I intended, accidentally lashing out at her. But even so, I don't really want to start talking about it. I've just met her, I don't know her, it's not her business. The nurse seems to be happily ignorant about confidentiality too, talking about that kind of thing in public. But it's not Rin's fault, is it? I look up at her, suddenly feeling a bit guilty, but Rin is just staring past my shoulders. Quizzically, her head tilts like a bird's. Sigh. I don't know why this is so hard for me. It feels like there's some inexplicable lock that prevents me from being more upfront about this. Yeah, they're for my heart. Will they make you better? No, not really. They just make me a little less worse. Rin keeps looking at me for a while longer, and then she neither says anything further nor displays any kind of emotion I could discern. I'm thankful that she doesn't. I think I'm still not quite used to all this. At the hospital it was easy, but I still haven't sorted my feelings about having to live a normal life with this disability. We leave the main building and Rin leads us onward towards the dorm. We stop at a small patch of greenery in front of the dorm building. The dorm is built on a slightly elevated ground, with a wall and a few trees that everyone has to circle around every time they come or go. It's probably the only inconvenient design of this school. The entire wall, made of the same kind of bricks as the building itself, has been covered with some sort of painting. Most of it is still mere sketches, quick line drawings with black and white against the gray plastering that covers almost the entire length of the wall, but some places look a bit more finished. There are human faces and legs and hands. I can't quite say what the painting as a whole might portray. Stacks of what seems to be paint cans are arranged in piles on the ground beside the wall. See, the left side is hardly off the ground yet. It's because I couldn't get in the mood yesterday, so I gave up and went to meditate instead. Then it was suddenly morning. I have to work on it, but the guys from art class are helping me with the negative space and base surface whenever, which is a problem. It's easier to paint big areas if there are a lot of people with hands. The reach is better, and it's faster too. She goes on a tangent, waving a little with her arm, or whatever of it there actually is, to demonstrate even though I got the point totally. The white cotton on her sleeve flaps around, and it makes me think it could look sadder than it does. But it makes me feel out of place, like almost every tangible reminder of the student space special properties has in the past few days. This girl doesn't notice my dreary feeling, of course, or the fact that she lost me a while ago already, and she just keeps on blabbering. So that's why I'm trying to figure out if there is something I need to figure out, and then figure that out before it's too late and all hope is lost. Why would all hope be lost? Because paint has to be painted, and then it has to dry, and then it has to be painted over with another kind of paint. It takes time. She finally stops, apparently thinking she made some kind of statement that makes sense. I think it's best to start from the top. So, this is your project. You did this? Yes. All of it? And we'll find out the answer on next week's episode. And I don't mean next week's, I mean the next episode after this. I hope you're enjoying, and as always, have a fantastic night.